Thank you so much for joining. I have a lot to say, and for those who will be coming on live, that is wonderful. But you may be watching a replay of this. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything I say. Um, we are in community now, and we need to be more than ever before. So, again, thank you for coming on with me today. So, first, before we get into the energy update, I just want to do a little back around kind of to set the foundation here. So, if you're like me, you've always been interested in spirituality, or maybe you've come to it a little bit later in your life. I've always had such a keen interest on science and spirituality, and I have been uh, really looking for the blend of those, knowing that they would really just, I guess, explain different sides of the same coin. I am super excited about these times, and I know it's really hard to say that because everything is turned upside down. And I know so many people um, collectively and personally are going through major challenges. And that is, my heart goes out um, to those who are in really challenging situations around the world and, coming at these times with great compassion. But like I said, also excitement for what is to come. So that is why I decided to do these energy updates because I feel so many people I talk to are like, really? You're excited? Um, I feel like I was made for these times because of all the interests I've had in my life. So I've always felt that something was momentous going to happen during our lifetime here. And, I was a child of the 60s, and I really was so kind of gobsmacked when an astrologer said the other day that, well, what we're experiencing now is an echo, not really an echo, a huge ripple to what was going on in the 60s with revolution and a change of consciousness and, kind of more about the power to the people and free love and oneness with all and reverence of nature. And those times, Pluto was conjunct Uranus for a good part of that decade. Now, I know I have Pluto and Uranus really close in my chart. So if you were born in the 60s, you probably do too. I think they're like 6 degrees apart. And then my moon is right in there. So I'm like, "Oh." um, now, currently, Pluto and Uranus are in a trine. Now, for those of you who don't have a background in astrology, a trine is a very positive aspect. And it is really, like I said, taking the themes that kind of really burst onto the scene in the 60s and then kind of withered away partly. But, something that I love is that it really was kind of bursting onto the scene of all of the like Eastern philosophy views and it more about indigenous cultures. And that has really maintained, and I think really in the last few decades have really amped up interest in that. There's a lot going on out there. Think about the 60s too, when you kind of reflect on that. And what you kind of see is what happened then. There's but this is like a different level, uh, for that. There are things happening with such speed and intensity, and it seems to be ratcheting up, like, daily. Um, but I think many of us are realizing that, um, this energy and this intensity and the speed of change and things are not just happening in the 3D world. They're also happening behind the scenes in the invisible realm. There's a lot going on, and I think it's causing a lot of people to really feel like we're kind of in a seismic activity of earthquakes because we can't really find our balance. And wow, if like meditation and yoga and Tai Chi and all those practices have taught us, many of us, and related disciplines about maintaining that stillness in the presence of chaos, right? That is our goal. And we are being really challenged to live that. And really, what we see going on around us is that impetus to kind of walk our talk, walk and talk what we've learned over decades in our lives, is to witness and be observant of what's going around. It's not to like um, hide under the covers, to witness, but not, if possible, not to get emotionally involved. And I'm talking more on a collective level, right? When things, but also when things happen in our lives on a personal level, to be able to, well, I'll give some ideas of what to do. These are transformative times. It's the analogy of the butterfly. We've all heard it. I think we can all relate to that kind of analogy very easily. So we've got a caterpillar that something triggers it to go through this metamorphosis, and it creates this cocoon. And what happens to the caterpillar is somehow it transforms into like liquid muck. That's what's inside the chrysalis. And it doesn't know. It just is doing what it is evolutionarily made to do, is to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly. If it lives long enough to have that process. So, astrologers and spiritual teachers have been saying for years we've been in this chrysalis. Well, now we're coming out. And some of us are coming out sooner than others. Some of us are taking more time in that muck, and that muck can be very, very confusing. Again, ungrounding. But there is no way to go back to being a caterpillar. We're all on this journey. We're all somewhere in this process of turning into that butterfly. And how glorious that is. And it is the butterfly kind of stage is an evolutionary process that many of us have worked all of our lives. I think many of us have recognized, maybe unconsciously, that there's going to be this time, and we're in it now, of this upshift in consciousness. Some have called it, shifting to the age of Aquarius. Again, 1960s reference. 5D consciousness, ascension. I mean, all these terms are really saying the same thing, that we are shifting into this human evolutionary shift in consciousness to higher degrees. So we're shifting away from this rooted reality in material world of 3D realm, where this is all that's real. But all of this out there, oh, who knows what's there? Many of us know that this is like 95% of reality is unseen. In fact, even quantum physics says that 95% of what is in our universe is invisible and is not known at this time. So I just saw these flowers here, and I just want to bring them in because they're telling me, bring these flowers into your talk today. All right. So, yeah. And this is not only humanity's up-level in consciousness. I have to be very clear that this is not just limited to us. what is so exciting is that its consciousness throughout the universe is rising. And when we raise consciousness, we are moving into more elevated emotions of love, compassion, kindness, generosity, and some words that I love, playfulness, and curiosity, wonder, awe. We're shifting from the fear-based survival emotions of fear, um, anger, shame, guilt, depression, anxiety, stress. We're shifting from these lower vibrations of emotion to a higher level. So I talked about this being a March energy update. I just wanted to lay some tracks before I start getting into March, because here we are in March and we are in now a huge shift this month. We've got eclipse season, which starts next week on March 13th, and it's a lunar eclipse. And we have eclipses twice a year, right? Every 6 months, we have lunar and solar eclipses. But eclipses do tend to mean like big shifts in energy changes, depending on where they are in our chart and how it works with our birth chart. It could mean real personal shifts. It could be, collective global shifts. And that's something, like I said, every 6 months. So it's kind of like, all right, Maureen, that's not a big deal. But we've got a few other things going on at the same time. We have the planet Saturn is conjunct the sun during this eclipse, which is big news. Saturn is the ability to make practical and grounded, responsible, but also material things. And having it next to the sun in the sky kind of grounds inspiration and creativity that may be coming through in these times. So it's basically making something real, which is exciting. It's very exciting, making things real for the long term in your life. So personally and also collectively, it requires discipline, but Saturn gives you that discipline to move forward on things that you've been maybe just thinking about. And bigger than that, much bigger than that, is the fact that the planet Neptune is at the very last degree of the zodiac. Now, I don't remember how long it's been at the 29th degree of Pisces, but it's been there for months and maybe even close to a year. I didn't follow up on checking that out, but it doesn't matter. So Neptune is at 29 degrees Pisces. What does that mean? Well, Neptune rules the sign of Pisces. And Neptune is all about creativity, inspiration, the divine, spirituality. And on a negative side is that it is about delusion, addiction, uh, and, corruption on a spiritual level. So, every planet, every sign, everything has kind of like positive and negative, right? So we're kind of seeing a lot of that real negative side of Neptune rise as it's the very last bit of Pisces. And like I said, Neptune rules Pisces, and Pisces is water energy. Pisces has to do, again, because it's ruled by Neptune, everything I just said. Dreaming, I wanted to throw that in there. Dreaming, intuition. But because it's water energy and it's very illusory, it's very fluid and kind of not grounded, right? The opposite of grounded. It can feel like limbo. So it can feel like foundations crumbling all around. And indeed it is. We're meant to feel kind of these endings in our personal lives, we may be feeling it very strongly. And of course, collectively, and we all feel that, right? Collectively. So it is meant to have this. So Neptune is right there at the very end. And when we have our solar eclipse on March 29th, the solar eclipse is in Aries, which is the beginning of the zodiac. And Aries energy is very different from Pisces energy. Aries energy is very direct, it's intense, it's action oriented, and it has like creative impulse to create. Um, so it's very action oriented. And Neptune, the very next day, Neptune goes from that 29 degrees of Pisces into 0 degrees of Aries. And this shift is the shift that many astrologers and many people that channel have said that this is kind of the sign of we are in a new world. We are in a new world. It's happening now. So when I started this talk, I talked about momentous shifts perhaps in our lifetime. I think many of us have felt that. Well, it's happening now. And it is cause to be excited. It's an adventure for sure. It's better than being same old, same old. Now, there's a lot of global events that are very fear-based, create a lot of anxiety, a lot of shifts going on that I know I'm not happy with. I read some headlines and I keep abreast of the news, but I'm very careful not to get sucked into it in an emotional way. But don't get yourself sucked into this after reading or watching something, of feeling like, oh my God, what the hell is going on in this world? That is not the place you want to be. Get informed and then get out of it. Feel your heart protected, because these global events are taking us, what one of my channelers that I follow, Lee Harris, awesome guy. We're taking 2 steps backward in order to take 2.5 steps forward. So what we see, what triggers us, is not solid. It is hollow. And it will crumble. Know that we're going to be taking lots of steps, 2 steps back, but it's going to propel us into the future in a positive way. So I was saying before, if you've had your own kind of spiritual awakening, and many of us have had many throughout our lives, right? We know that right before spiritual awakening tends to be an emotional crisis in our lives. Something has happened and we fall into a pit of despair. And then we come out of it and we're a new person. We've learned so much, and we can look back and say, you know what? That served a tremendous purpose in my life. Thank you for that. We're doing this on a collective level. So we're kind of like, I don't want to say falling into a pit of despair, but a lot of people are. Don't be one of them. Do not fall into a pit of despair, because we will come out of this so much better. I want to just kind of bring forward the image of being on a stormy sea in a boat. All right. So you're on that stormy sea and it's like, and you're fearing for your life, right? But know that down below in the water, it's tranquil. So when you feel yourself on that rocky boat, sink down. Sink down into that peace and calm that's available all the time, anytime that's below. And that's where you can get your solace. And we can access this peace. And I think some of the things that we can do is stillness. Stillness is number one, especially when you feel yourself starting to get like, so if you know some breath work, and even if you don't, just like consciously breathe into the heart. You don't have to have any fancy breath work techniques, although they can be very helpful, but really just breathe into the heart chakra, breathe in. And you might go, how do I do that? Just imagine the breath going into the heart and bringing love, and then breathing out any negative energy that doesn't serve you. Now, I know I'm coming close to the end of this, and I want to do a brief meditation. It's going to be super brief, but I also need to say this. Something else that channelers and astrologers are all saying, and they've been talking, I think I heard about it for the first time this past summer, that there's going to be a flash of light coming onto the planet. And at first, I'm very skeptical too. I kind of get like, that sounds really wacky. But I actually had a dream about this, and I am certain that we're going to experience something. And the kind of, some people are feeling like it's going to be happening this month, toward the end of this month, perhaps corresponding to the solar eclipse, which is on March 29th, and the move of Neptune into Aries, which is March 30th. But they talk about these waves of light coming in, and it's, we know we're in a peak solar flare period, right? So we got the solar flares coming in, we've got the northern lights being seen in places of the world that rarely see them. I mean, in October, I saw them right here on Long Island. Wow, that was awesome. But this wave of light that's coming now, and we're feeling these waves coming in very gently, but there's going to be like a mega one. And people have said, and I'm talking about people who channel from different light beings, angels, galactic beings, have been saying that it's going to change everything. Everything. And this wave of light coming in is going to be undeniable. It's not going to be like, oh, was that no. You will know. So I just want to share that with you, that this is coming, and it could be later this month. It may be in April. I mean, one of the channelers said, when enough of us are ready for it. So there's got to be like a tipping point. And some people say, we're at that tipping point now. But it's going to be a kind of solar energy. It will be a rebirth. And it is something like we're all going to be impacted by it. But depending on our kind of worldview and our perspective, some of us will be like ready and excited. Others will be like, oh, what was that? Oh, and go along with their lives unchanged. And they say that they're going to have we all have our own free will, and everyone will be on board at some point. It's just going to take some people longer than others. And they say, is there any fear to be associated with this? Not at all. It's going to be loving, beautiful light. It may actually make people feel tired because it's kind of like this wave of light is consciousness. It's that higher realm consciousness that's coming to the earth. And just be in a state of allowing if you're kind of feeling ready. Um, some will kind of resist it, and it may be unconsciously. Just maybe there's some fear within them of the unknown. I don't have, that much fear, like, especially coming from this, I feel really very excited for it. And so do the astrologers and the people channeling. Um, so they say to just kind of rest if you need, allow, be in the now, be in the present moment as much as you can be, in order to access the higher consciousness. And basically, they say you don't really need to do anything. You just need to surrender and allow. So, because of this experience, some people will become spiritually awakened like that. They will have an awakening. Something within them will be switched on. They'll be ready. Their free will is like, yeah, I'm willing to see the world in a more expansive way than what I was taught. Physical objects being all there is. And for those of us who do some light work, we will be in great demand because a lot of people are going to be suddenly like, what's going on? What is this all about? And for many of us, we've been really planning or preparing ourselves for our whole lives, even unconsciously, for this shift in consciousness. So what can you do? Like I said, stillness is so important. Some kind of breath work. And again, just breathing into the heart chakra, breathing out negative energy, breathing in beautiful light, breathing out negative energy. And for those of you who know me, nature, nature, being outdoors is so important during this time period. Allow messages to come through you. You may suddenly experience like images or voices, or you just don't let it upset you. Just allow it. You may experience that increase in like a sensitivity. You may suddenly uncover gifts that you never knew you had before. And a phrase that I've been really focusing on a lot is heart coherence. And that is when our heart chakra is at a higher elevated level. So just kind of keeping that in mind, just coherence within your heart, just calm coherence. So we are on the edge of this great transformation for inspiration, creativity. Some have called it, we're on the edge of a renaissance. And I love to think of that. And science and spirituality are going to become closer together than ever before. And what is kind of unseen, even more now, will be understood through science at a greater level. And I think we're starting to see that a lot in if you're keeping abreast of quantum physics and different research. So really cool. So thank you for spending that time with me. I just want to do a brief, super brief, couple of minute meditation. You close your eyes. And again, let's just do that breathing into the heart And it's just intending to breathe, to direct that breath into your heart chakra. And to be still. Really quiet and still. And maybe even look for that still point within your heart, like one single point, and imagine that that point is rippling out into fields of coherent light. And that coherent light embraces your whole entire body. And that the energy field around your body is filled with this coherent light. And you expand that field so that it can reach other people's fields and bringing to them coherence. Because that is one thing that science is learning, is coherence can be caught, right? We can be influenced by another's coherent field, bringing light to your life, bringing joy, bringing love, smiling at someone as you pass in the street, maybe complimenting someone. It goes such a long way. And the question to remember is, are you open or are you closed? And that will be influencing how you experience your life. Being open or being closed, being in love or being in fear. There's plenty of reasons out there to be in fear. But resist that by being in love. And there's a scientist that said curiosity is more powerful in conquering fear than courage is. And I love that because I think we can all be curious. So if you find yourself feeling fear, be it something on the news or be it something in your personal life, open yourself to curiosity. Because personally, I know I can be a worrier. I've got 4 planets in Virgo, which is the sign of worry. And I can make up all sorts of horrible stories in my mind. And that is one of the things I have been challenged to really just move beyond. Because when I have let the worry go, like, I don't need to have an answer for this. I don't need to be in control. And that word surrender, just kind of like, just surrender. It doesn't mean to just sit back and just not care. It just means this gentle letting go of control. Things turn around. So, like I said, we may feel like we're taking 2 steps back on our personal lives or globally. We're going back in time. We're going away from what we want, but we're going to take 2.5 steps forward. And the more of us that are in that mode, the quicker we will manifest it. If you find yourself in fear, just remember, just bring yourself back into this maybe state of curiosity, or go to that still point in your heart and know that this is hollow. This situation is not going to be forever. It is a part of the process of transformation where everything just gets up in the air, ungrounded, like a tornado, but that tornado will not last. And we will come out of it in a much better place. So maybe the tornado metaphor isn't so great because it sounds like there's a lot of devastation, but sending lots of love. I hope you join me next month. Now, next month, I haven't picked the date, but I'm going to try to do the beginning of April. You know, it'll be interesting to see what we experience in this next month. I just say, live in love, live in kindness, compassion, and know that all of this negative chaos going on around us is not solid. It is hollow. All right. Sending lots of love, and look forward to seeing you.